Somebody had put it beautifully. There was a coach I met, तो उसने बोला कि meditate if you can. If you can't, then hire a coach. So let's start the panel discussion. You know what makes content memorable. So let's start with me.
I would say there are certain things that I feel like make something memorable. Firstly, I think it's the people. Like I think the thing that, especially when I've been in the audio space, whether it's radio or whether it's podcasting, I think the personality, a lot of the time we're drawn to people, right? And if you like that person, you like the way they speak and the way they crack that joke and that little quip, and you enjoy listening to them or what they have to say, or there's something about their opinion or their values that sort of you bond with. Those are the things that I feel like really tie you in to connecting with whatever it is that you're putting out there in the universe. So for me, it's the human being. Like, I have listened to like this incredible woman who literally I would have like marched on a rally with her because whatever she said, I felt like it really made me feel seen, right? There is someone that I follow that I think is really funny and I just enjoy their take on things. So I feel like the moment you make that connection, whether it's humor, values, your humanity, I think those are the things that I think hold us in good stead in terms of how you bond with.
Nimisha, you would like to add something?
I totally agree with me, and just to add a little bit more, the more you are yourself, the more authentic I feel your voice is in a space which is so crowded, and there's a bombardment of content. So when you're trying to put on a face and not be your authentic self, I think that's when you will face more roadblocks. Having said that, you really need to give a lot of thought to how you, especially in the podcasting and I think broadcasting space, how you are framing your story.
Aditya?
Yeah, I completely agree. In addition, I'd also say relatability, very important. One of the reasons the story probably stayed with you is, like Nimisha also said, the way it was told, when you heard it, and the fact that probably the setting resonated with you, the manner in which it was told remains with you. So relatability, topic, and from the earlier panel, like Shardul said, language would have played a very large role. All these factors coming together, that's really what makes it memorable. So I don't think there's one thing that can make anything work, because a story is always a mix of a lot of these things. So until all of them come together, you're not going to get it. So yeah, all of these aspects, I'd say.
Do we need a different kind of a structure for podcasting and broadcasting, or the same structure which we have used in traditional media like TV, radio, that same structure works on podcast also?
I feel like the thing is, especially with podcasting in general, and the thing that really bothers me more than anything else is that people aren't playing enough with the medium, right? You just think like a rambly conversation is a podcast, and that's not it at all. I'm like, and Aditya and I know this really well because editing is your best friend, okay? The thing is that I agree with you because preparation is super important. People feel like they can just walk into a studio and just have a conversation. No, you can't. Prep, man, do some research, have some outline and points of what you want to put across. And particularly with podcasting, play around. When I say play around with the medium, play around with the way that you want to tell the story.
Nimisha, so any experiences where your podcast created the quorum, it became popular because of a certain technique,
I would say the main thing for an engaging story is the flow of the story, the way it is narrated. I, as a voiceover artist, is what Aditya said, starting from the script. If the script is not engaging, what is the voice going to deliver? So you have to invest the time, energy in creating something, in writing something which is going to be able, which you can use to deliver in a certain manner. And then you add elements to it. If you're doing audio storytelling. Then you have a bigger bandwidth in terms of sound effects. How do you make it more interesting? Like a boring narration without adding different elements can become very heavy on a person's ear. How do you break it down? You add it at different points. So it all depends, starting from the script to the post-production, which ends up making a good audio or video podcast.
What are the typical mistakes that podcasters make? Typical mistakes they do on all the fronts. I mean, it can be storytelling or technical side.
You know, before you actually pick up your equipment, you're told typically by a good coach, you know, this is the equipment, this is what is going to happen, these are the parts that you're going to have to use, you know, your hands, legs, etc. So understand that, and before you actually go and play a match, you'll practice, right, for weeks and months and years. Buying a mic is not the equivalent of being qualified to or prepared to become a podcaster. So there's enough guides available online, there's enough people you can reach out to. I think anyone who's here today who's working in this space professionally is accessible today. Reach out, understand whether, like May said, what you're doing, is there a need for it or you're just adding to the noise. Second, if your idea is good and despite there being enough supply you still want to do it, spend time in finding a niche, defining a slight differentiator. Even a 5% differentiator is good. Spend time in structuring a long-term plan. You might have 2 great episode ideas and then what? You know, you're not going to end your podcast after 2 episodes. So what do your next 20 episodes look like? Do you have a thought on that? And if you run out at 5, then clearly this is not going anywhere, so don't do it. And finally, benchmark yourself, not in terms of, I want this to sound like Ranveer's show. No, he's taken 8 years to get there. Yeah, if you go back to what he sounded like in year 1 and 2, he's very different from what he sounds now. Okay, you like him, you don't like him, whatever, but the man has made a mark, he's where he is, so you're not going to get there in 8 months. Chart your own journey, learn from him, learn from the 500,000 people out there. Once you are on course, don't be rigid. You will make mistakes, you will find out that things are not working out, change, alter, pivot, there's no ego to be had there. Just being better planned, having clarity that this is what I want to do, 5%, 10%, 20% movement and adjustment, and stay the course, stay committed. Too many people, I think all of us have seen, who started out with a bang and then disappear with a whimper. So don't let that happen. So be prepared, be planned, and be in it for the long run. That's the only way to do it.